Hi everyone, this is Amy Johnson-Crow, and welcome to this week's Archives.com live stream. This week we are going to be talking about best friends forever, using yearbooks on Archives.com. This should be a really fun topic to cover. Because yearbooks really are fun. Now, not to say that other records aren't fun. It is fun to go through the census and see who all is living in the household and learning about how much they made and what occupation they had. But let's face it, it's really fun to go into a record and find that your ancestor was elected most popular boy or most popular girl, and having those old pictures. That is just really fun. And it's a great way also to bring in the interest of other family members. Yearbooks have a way of making those connections with those family members who, may not be as excited about census records as we are. But show them a yearbook photo and they are going to be hooked. Just remember when you do that to be careful if you show them a yearbook photo where you're in the picture. Suddenly those old marching band uniforms don't look quite as cool as what you thought they looked like when you're in high school. And being a former band member myself, believe me, I can sympathize with the high school marching band uniforms. When we're looking at yearbooks, however, it's important to remember that tackling yearbooks require a slightly different strategy than when you're looking for records like census records or marriage records. The yearbooks are full-text searchable, which means that when these yearbooks were digitized, they were run through a special program called OCR, or Optical Character Recognition. And what that does is give us the ability to take those printed words and make them into something that's searchable, so we can find all of those ancestors that are hiding in those yearbooks. Now, the good news about yearbooks being searchable this way is that you can find any word. So you can look for subjects like clubs that your ancestors were in, or looking for things like marching band or homecoming or, prom king and queen. You can look for those subjects. You don't have to look for a name. So that's the good news. The bad news is that you can find any word. So it's both a good thing and a bad thing that we can find any word in a yearbook. But what do I mean by that? Well, there is a downside to having it being full-text searchable. The downside is that names are treated as words rather than as names. So it's not something where this particular word is always a name. It's just a word. So let's say that you're working in the yearbooks and you want to find all of the people with the last name of Young in that particular yearbook. Well, not only are you going to find people who are listed with the last name of Young, but you're also going to have hits like this, where Young is not a last name, it's part of the phrase young farmers, which in this case was a group from this particular high school. So that is a downside to having things be full text searchable. But if we keep that in mind and keep that in mind when we're doing our searches, then we're going to have a lot more success when we're working with our yearbooks. So when we're searching in yearbooks, the way that you can get into specifically the yearbook collections is from the Archives.com member homepage. So when you've gone into Archives.com and you've logged in, click up here on the Search tab. And when you click on Search, you'll come to the larger search page. And over on the left, you can actually select what type of record you want to look for. So I can go over here to this left-hand side of the page, and I can go down and select yearbooks. And that will get me just specifically into the yearbook collections. If I want, I can actually specify what type of yearbook I want to look for. If I want to look in all of the yearbooks, just high school yearbooks, or just college and university yearbooks. So we have some flexibility with how we're going to work with these collections. And there are two ways that we can work with the yearbook collections on archives.com. We can search by name or keyword, or we can also just browse a yearbook. We can start at the beginning and work to the end if we want to. And we can select how we want to search the yearbooks up here at the top of the page. After we have selected that we're working in yearbooks, then we can either search by name or keyword or search by yearbook. And first, let's take a look at searching by name or keyword. But first, a reminder about names. Now, as I mentioned a moment ago, when you search for a name, it's going to be treated as a word, not specifically as a name. So not only does that mean that we're going to end up finding a few things that aren't people, such as, finding Young as part of Young Farmers, the name of an organization, but it also means that it won't find variants of a name. So if I do a search for William, it won't find Bill. So we're going to have to play with our searches a little bit so that we find all of the instances of the people in a particular yearbook. Because, sometimes they're going to be listed as William and sometimes they might be listed as Bill. So we need to keep that in mind as we're searching. So as an example, I was looking for Bob Steckroth in Pennsylvania. And when I did a search for Bob Steckroth, I only had 2 hits. But when I changed my search to Robert Steckroth, I found 5 more. So, and they were all in the same high school. So in some records, he's showing up as Robert. Other ones, he's listed as Bob. So you will want to play with your searches a little bit. Think about what nicknames they might have used. If they sometimes went by their full name or sometimes they had a nickname, very important to go and do that search over again using those other names that they might have been known as in high school or in college. And when we finally get into the images, let me back up 1 second here. So here we have the results that I got when I did the search for Robert Steckroth in Pennsylvania. And I can see this one here from 1941 in Hazleton High School in Hazleton, Pennsylvania. And I can click through to the full record and click through to the image. And here I see that he was part of the Basketeers of 41. So basketball uniforms look a little bit different today than they did back in 1941. And we have down here, we find that Robert Steckroth was actually a co-captain of the team. Now, what you'll probably want to do once you find a really cool image like this is to go up to the top of the page, and you can download this image right to your computer, but you can also page through the yearbook. So I can keep going and I can go to the next page, which probably has more information about the Basketeers of 41. We can see a little bit more about the team. And we can also go to the previous page. If we want, we can even skip to the very first page of the yearbook or to the very last page of the yearbook. So we have some different ways that we can navigate through all of these images. Now, when we're narrowing a search, let's say that we've had way too many results, or we have found some results in a particular high school, and we'd like to see everybody perhaps with that same last name in that high school. On the results page, on the left-hand side, there are options where we can go in and select the state, the city, the school, the particular yearbook, and even narrow it down to a specific year. So let's say that we just want to find all of the Steckroths in this particular high school. We can narrow that down right from here. Again, giving you more control over the results that you're getting. And another way that you can get into yearbooks, you don't even have to search for a name or a keyword. You can search just by the yearbook. And you can do that after you've selected yearbooks. Instead of searching by name or keyword, select that you want to search by yearbook. And then you can select the state, the city, the school, and the year that you're interested in. When you get that and you get the results, then what you will have is a link to the very first page of that yearbook. And then you can go page by page through that yearbook and marvel at all of the wonderful hairstyles and the clothing styles that your ancestors were wearing, in this case in 1946. And again, it's such a great way to get others interested in their family history because it makes such a connection to see, hey, Grandpa was part of the basketball team. I didn't know that. That is so cool. It's a great way to make connections to get others in the family interested in their family history. Next week on the archives.com live stream, we are going to salute their service, identifying military ancestors. And that will be next Wednesday, the 8th of May, at the same time, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. Hope that you can join us for that. It should be a really good topic as we're getting closer and closer to Memorial Day. So salute their ancestors, identifying military ancestors. Of course, we always encourage you to stay connected with archives. A lot of different ways you can do that, whether it's on our blog, whether it's liking us on Facebook, following us on Twitter, or finding our past live stream videos on our YouTube channel. For those of you who are watching this live, and if you've missed some of our previous live streams, pop over to the YouTube channel and take a look at some of the previous ones that we've done. We've had some really interesting topics that we think that you will find useful. And also, next week, we will be live at the National Genealogical Society Conference in Las Vegas. That will be May 8th to 11th. That's next Wednesday through Saturday. We will be there in the exhibit hall and we'll be happy to talk with all of you. So please stop by and say hi and feel free to ask us any questions that you might have. In the meantime, this is Amy Johnson Crow and wishing you happy researching.